Hello everyone. So we have been discussing about the fundamentals that we should know before we get into programming, right? We were discussing about why we need a programming language. Then we discussed about compiler, what compiler do. It will compile a high level programming language into a machine code. Then we're discussing about the memory and the processor. Now we're going to discuss about operating system, right? So why we need an operating system, right? Okay, so most of you might be listening this in a Android phone or in a laptop or in a desktop computer. So so to that computer, how many devices are connected? A mouse, a keyboard, a display, or even a USB drive. A lot of hardwares inside your desktop computer or laptop, keyboard. So how all these things are working? Everything is designed to do something, right? Keyboard is designed to do something, and mouse is designed to do something, and they will given a input. They will given a output in certain format, and they will take an input in certain format, in some format, right? So how all these are working? Someone has to integrate all these things, right? So that is operating system. The operating system is the one which is going to integrate all those hardwares, and it's going to expose the medium with which our program can communicate with them, right? Whatever the program that we write will use at least any one of the hardware in the computer. Of course it will use processor and RAM all the time, no doubt about it, but we will be using the display, we will be using um, we will be using a printer which is connected to it. We will be using a USB drive. We'll be reading from something from that. We will be using the disk drive. Of course, we will be reading images or a lot of things from that. So we will be using most of the hardwares from the computer. So to use the hardware, we should know how that works. We should know how to talk to that hardware, what kind of language they speak. We should know that, right? So the operating system takes those burden off from us, so that we will be concentrating on a program, and operating system will expose an interface with which we can talk to disk drive. Say for example, I'm saying it, like if I want to talk to a disk drive, hard disk hard disk, the operating system might expose an interface like take data, put data, something like that. An easy interface will be there. We will be just using those interface. We will be talking to the hard disk. But internally, if I say put data, it's an interface. Assume like it's in a function. Okay, it's a too much now. I'm just saying, understand you don't want to understand it as a program. Just understand as a some instruction that operating system give to hard disk. Okay, so it will give I will say like an instruction like put data. So operating system knows how to tell this to the hard disk to put a data into it. I don't want to know how it will communicate to hard disk, because why it is required first of all is like there could be a lot of hard disk manufacturers, there could be a lot different hard disks, so every hard disk might work in a different way. So I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to change my program every time when I put a new hard disk, right? Operating system will take care of that. Whatever be the hard disk it is, whatever be the mode of communication they do, operating system take care of that. So I will just take the instruction that operating system gives to me, put into disk and take from the disk. So I will use those instruction, and I will put that in my program, put into disk and take it from the disk. So put into disk will be operating system interface, and operating system will have different kind of questions or answers that talks to different kind of hard disk. I mean, I assume like there could be any number of person, any kind of person standing out there. Someone could be speaking some languages. So I don't want to speak in every language, right? I don't want to know every language, right? So I will talk to operating system in one language, and operating system will take care of talking to those people in different languages. So in simple terms, operating system is the one which integrates all the hardware, and it exposes a medium through which one medium, a single medium with which we can communicate to those hardwares, right? So what are the things that the operating system do? Like, it manages the devices, it provides a security, it provides a communication, it provides file data management, memory management, fault management. Okay, what are the things that is very important for us? Everything is important, of course, but no, with relevant to whatever that we discussed, like we discussed about processor, we discussed about memory. So here there is memory management, right? So in a computer there could be a lot of applications running. You could be reading something in a browser, you could be watching something, you could be playing some music in the background. So everything will be run at the same time. So every application will require some memory to execute. So every application will require some time in the processor to execute their instructions, right? As we saw in the previous videos, that every program will convert into a machine code, and those machine code instructions will be executed in the processor. So every application that we run in a computer will have their own machine instruction they have to execute in the processor. So every application will try to access the processor, every application will try to access the memory, and someone has to control those things, right? Who needs what? And everyone might be trying to access the hard disk for images or something. So the hard disk should know, like if someone is opened an image and if he is editing that image, if other guy is opening it for editing at the same time, the operating system has to manage that. No, this file is already in use, right? Say if someone is using a camera, some application is using a camera, and another application is trying to take the same camera. There are systems, if you use in Mac, yes, it will work, but in Windows, if your webcam is accessed by one of your application, other application cannot access at that same time. So operating system is managing it, right? So this device is used by someone, you cannot use that at the moment. That is the device management. The memory management is like whenever a different application going and ask for a memory, the operating system manages the whole RAM. It will take care of whole RAM, and it will give, if it is there. If it is no memory, then your application will be waiting for that. Then when some memory is released, then your application will get no memory. That's the reason you will be seeing sometimes your application takes a long time to get into the position where you want to start from, right? So those memory management, be that a memory management or be that device management, everything is handled by operating system. When your application queue up to execute their instruction, operating system will give them a duration and give them a period where they can go and execute their instructions. So all these things are required by all the applications which runs in a computer, be that files or the memory or the devices. Everything is required by your applications, and operating system manages and provides them with whatever they are required. And security, what is security? And security is like, at the same time, I might be having an own application and you might be having another application, and both, my application should not steal the data from your application, or my application should not steal the data from the you know the whatever the data that your application is working on. So security is a big term actually. I know, like, a lot of security is involved, so we don't want to discuss much about it now. So the fundamental thing that you have to understand before we get into programming is, right, the operating system is the one which manages the memory, which helps you to execute your instructions in the processor. That's a fundamental thing that we have to understand, right? So this is how every application will get loaded into, or it will get executed in your computer, right? It will be there in the disk memory, and it will get into the RAM. Then something which has to be very accessed very frequently will get into a cache memory. Then it will get executed in the CPU. So this is the flow of any application that runs in the computer, right? So that could be a question like, is every application is every program needs an operating system? very small applications, very small electronic devices, or very small electronic programs like something which runs in a washing machine where we configure the type of washing modes and everything. Does that require an operating system? Like one we discussed before, like smart home device or smart home gadgets like smart lights which will turn on when the light goes down, or when it will turn off when it becomes brighter, means the natural light comes up, it will turn off, something like that. Very very fundamental, very small electronic program. Does that require an operating system? No, not everything requires a program operating system. you know there are some very devices which doesn't require an operating system, but if there is an operating system, it takes the burden of knowing about other devices that you connect to those boards. Say even in the case of a smart gadget, if in a room there is an system which lights will go on when it's darker, then there should be a sensor which detects what is the intensity of the light, right? So that will talk to our program. Then our program will turn on or turn off the light, right? So someone has to talk to the sensor. So my program can talk to it, but you know I can I can also have an operating system which manages that for me, right? Still, every electronic device which needs a processor, as we discussed, or a memory, so that I can execute my program. So to handle that memory and an operating to and the memory and the processor, at least I need a kernel where which could manage my my application, right? So yeah, if yes, it's required. No, it's not mandatory, but it's good to have actually. But bigger applications without operating system, it's not possible. And there are a lot of different operating systems that you all know, that you can go on research about it, different operating systems and everything. So this is a fundamental that we should know about operating system, where it comes in my programming, when I program and when I give it to it, what that it do. Of course, now you write a code, everything in your Windows laptop or a Mac laptop or somewhere. So you of course, it's not just it gives an editor, it's not just gives the editor to edit in, and that's what that's not only thing operating system do. More than that, after you complete your editing, once you complete a compiling, then when you try to execute, then operating system plays a big part, right? So that's what we have to understand. Operating system is the one which manages the resources that are required by your program to execute, right? So if you want a memory, it gives you the memory. If you want a processor, it will give the processor in such a way that other programs are not affected, right? That is what operating system is for. Good, I think we learned good enough about operating system to get into programming language. So we covered most of the fundamentals. Now we get into programming, the C and C++ programming. Okay, I will meet you again with another video which will be most probably on programming. See you.